Welcome to another episode of Lobdell Universe. Today I have my son, Layne, with me. And our biggest goal so far is we got some movies to talk about. So maybe we're going to be starting a movie review episode every once in a while. I've got this boy watching a bunch of movies and trying to get him to understand the movies that were important to me when I was his age, or actually since then too.
We also have the cubes that my sister hates.
You have to bring up that she hates them.
Yes, I do.
So before we talk about the cubes, let's start with the idea of, first of all, this is the beginning of the year. We just went through Christmas. We just went through the New Year. I got to talk to Rose about both of those things, but I have not talked to you yet. So let's start with, how was Christmas for you?
It was fun, and I got a wide variety of things, mostly because I didn't ask for much, but...
Okay.
And I can't say I'm not surprised because it was stuff I wasn't expecting 100%.
Yeah, we gave you a lot of things you weren't expecting because you didn't give us anything to go off of.
I got something that pukes, and I got a bunch of magnets, and I got some books that I don't care as much about.
What books did you get that you don't care about?
The Five Nights at Freddy's books.
Oh, you don't care about the books, just the movie?
I care more about the games, but we're trying not to talk about games here. This
is an anti-game podcast.
He's told me 10 times before we started not to talk about games.
And yet here we are already talking about it, and we are less than 3 minutes into the podcast. That worked really well. Wah, wah, wah.
Anyways.
So, what was the other thing that you got? But of course you loved, and I'm being sarcastic by saying this, even though I got it for him on purpose. I'm sure you loved your tiny little book of Shakespeare sonnets.
I actually have not really touched it. I think I left it on the office desk and have not seen it since.
It's not on the office desk because I just moved everything.
Yeah, I don't know where you put it.
Oh my God. Well, but okay, there's a reason why I gave this to him, okay? So let's talk about this.
I was in a play.
Yeah, let's talk about the play because I don't think we've talked about that. So tell me your experience about being in your, really, I mean, you did a couple musicals with a big group of people up in Ohio, but this is different. This is more of like a personal first time really doing a live theater show on your own. It was your idea. It wasn't like we were like, hey, we're sending you to Ohio and we're making you do this. This was your idea. So how did it go for you? Because we haven't really talked much about it.
It was fun. Although I wasn't able to do as much homework as I would have liked because late nights in a week. And what was the most annoying part is that they didn't have specific days or anything. It was just random. So oftentimes I would have to not go to club and then go to club the next week and then not the next week and such. And it was just annoying. But other than that, I had fun while I was there. It was a blast. I could probably read you my sonnet if you wanted me to, because that's the only thing I do by myself, even though it's technically a suicide note, but okay. In rehearsal, they're like, well, what is this really? When I was starting to rehearse it, and we kind of talked, like one thing that was kind of brought up when rehearsing is how it's kind of like a suicide note.
Well, I mean, if you still have this memorized, by all means, the audience is listening.
Okay. Sonnet 71. No longer mourn for me when I am dead. Then you shall hear the surely sullen bells give warning to the road that I have fled, from this vile road with the vilest worms to dwell. Nay, if you read these lines, remember not the hand that writ them, for I love you so, that I and your sweet thoughts shall be forgot, if thinking on me should then make you woe. Oh, if I say you look upon this verse, when I perhaps compounded am with clay, do not pour my name rehearse, and let your love even with my life decay. Lest this wise world to look into your moan and mock you with me after I'm gone.
Yay, good job. I'm very impressed. I was impressed you did it all. I was impressed that you did Shakespeare of all things because, yes, Shakespeare is nothing but tragedies and death and suicide. And I don't know if there is such thing as a positive Shakespeare anything, but that's what makes it brilliant and amazing because he does such a good job of
It's all about
making
love
beauty.
and death. That's pretty much it.
And the beauty behind it all. So that was awesome. I thought it was great that you did it. It was a great show. It was like in a black box theater. It was really cool how they kept it very, what's the word, streamlined and minimalistic in a good way. It was very personal, very personal. It was awesome. All right, so we had Christmas right after that, which was a whirlwind for us getting through that show and then trying to find time to get ready for Christmas. We get all these time. They're still off school right now, by the way. It's just insane. Like 3 weeks of school off. And then I assume these little cubes you have sitting in front of you are your favorite thing from Christmas.
Pretty much.
Okay.
These cubes kind of just, it's hard to explain. Besides, they just...
Well, just remember that not everybody's going to be watching,
Yeah.
so you have to describe what you are doing right now.
I turned it from a cube into a globe.
To like an octagon. It's an odd shaped. It's not really a globe. It shows the world on it, but it's a weird polygon. Is that a good word for it?
Pretty sure polygon was the term for something that has 3 or more sides.
Right, that has 3 or more sides.
Okay. Polygon.
Your dad's not as dumb as you think. And then you can morph it into just about any geometric triangular shape. It's got angular shapes to it. And the thing is when I saw them, I also noticed that you could add multiple together. And so I bought one for him, for my daughter, and for me, assuming that he's going to be the only one playing with all 3 of them. And I was kind of right about that.
Yeah, she hates them.
I think she's loosely saying that, but yeah, it's not her thing. She would rather just have a ball puking slime out of it all the time.
The thing that I was not expecting whatsoever and was confused on.
Yes. All right, so Christmas went okay. New Year was fun. We blew up a lot of things, a lot of fireworks. You had no problem again staying up late. Rose, on the other hand, barely survived it again. She looked like hell at midnight. At least she made it to midnight. I showed her the next day how bad her picture was from last year, where she was just like so out of it, angry at us, angry at the world because she was so tired. All right. So the main point to our conversation then is you want to talk about some movies. Is there a specific movie, or are we just going to go into the stuff that I gave you?
Movies in general is what I wanted to talk about.
Okay. Well, let me explain to everybody what I did. So a couple months ago, he's going to get mad at me on some of this when I say it all, but every time I come upstairs to see him watching TV, always watching his YouTube videos of YouTube videos of YouTube videos. Not a new YouTube video of something interesting, but it's a YouTube video about a YouTube video made by a YouTube video for a YouTube video that has something to do with Minecraft or memes or something so ridiculous that I'm just like, your brain cannot function watching something so stupid. It drives me insane. So my smart idea was, I'm going to put together a list of the greatest movies of all time in different categories and see if he pays attention. Now, the thing was, he didn't pay attention for over a month. It just sat there, fell on the floor. The list never went anywhere.
Because
one day I forced him to watch one.
I'm pretty sure it kind of started because it was like October or something. And I kept wanting to watch Saw in the middle of a week, and you said no.
I don't think it was because of Saw. I don't think that had anything to do with it at the first point. But I did put that on the list and allowed you to watch it.
And it was not scary whatsoever.
Okay, but it's very gory, and it does still give people nightmares. So, let's see what the audience thinks if they pay attention to all of this. But I created 3 different categories. Kept it simple. I didn't want to go into too much, but I created a horror category, a comedy category, and then instead of going into like dramas or action movies or stuff like that, I just did classics to what I think is classics. And when I say classics, I'm talking like classics to me, not like Gone with the Wind or The Wizard of Oz, or I'm not talking about like the classics of all time. I'm talking about ones that I grew up with that I can't imagine you not wanting to watch. Specifically, those ones were the ones that I think for some of us kind of changed our reality during that time when it came out. And some of them came out at perfect timing when we needed them. And it's, so see what you guys think about this. But let's start with the horror movies. The horror movies was the hardest one because my wife and I are huge fanatics of horror movies. And we can make a list for days of horror movies that we think are amazing. There's a lot of them I should have put on here, but I kept it simple. And I made 3 different tiers. I made a tier of like the first ones where they're not that scary, but they're still horror movies, but they're more suspenseful horror movies maybe. And then on the second tier was more of your traditional horror movies that you think about. And then the third tier are the ones that are like, they're gonna really,
They're messed up.
really gory, or they're really in your face, or they're really insane, or there's a lot more to them. So I'm just going to run through this list for you. And he hasn't watched all of these. He's only watched a couple of them. So in the tier 1 of the horror movies, I put down, well, some of these are my wife's choices too. So first one is Lost Boys. That's all hers. She loves that movie. It's one of her favorite movies. Poltergeist definitely is one of our favorite horrors. Sixth Sense, The Others, American Werewolf in London. I added that one in. Alien, and then Children of the Corn. Now, I will say Children of the Corn is a very slow, old movie now. So is American Werewolf in London. But they are horrifying movies when you think about them. Tier 2 is the traditional ones. Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, and Evil Dead 2. Which really, it's Evil Dead. That's a long story, but you haven't got there yet. And then tier 3 is Seven, Saw, Hellraiser, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then Aliens, which is part 2 of the first one, which I just watched 3 nights ago. And it's so awesome. I'd forgotten some of it. So he has watched so far Poltergeist and Saw.
Saw may be in tier 3, but it's not scary whatsoever.
It's mostly about all the gore.
I see it more as a messed up kind of thing where it's essentially a guy who is picking people and then putting them through these torture chambers where they either die or they do something that'll scar them for the rest of their lives.
Did you figure out why he picked those specific people?
At the end, it showed how the guy was the patient that the one doctor was working on, and he happened to pick that doctor because he didn't care about the patients too much. He just referred to them as patients and not by their real names.
Right. Well, in all of those people, there is some reason that if they survived, they were going to be better about their lives and about the people around them. That was the whole point. It wasn't random people. They were selected because of their issues with him or near him or something he witnessed or their personality traits. There was a reason why he picked every single person, and everything was a test. You either passed the test and you got to feel better about your life after that, or you didn't pass, in which case you die. Die, turkey butt, die. Different movie. TV show.
No, it was a PlayStation 2 game.
Well, that's true. I'm sure it was on one of the episodes, though. I think it came from an episode, but we're talking about South Park. Who can't enjoy South Park? All right, and then what did you think about Poltergeist?
It was kind of boring, very slow.
I knew you were going to say that. Man.
Very slow, very boring. It's just...
Welcome to the new generation, ladies and germs. They think Poltergeist is slow and boring. And not suspenseful, slow, and boring.
It took them like an hour before the ghost finally started doing something.
Yes, it's called suspense.
Yeah, suspense doesn't need to be most of the movie.
Yes, it does. That's the reason why it's called suspense.
Or at least they didn't do the suspense good.
The interesting thing about stuff like that is, and there's a lot of movies out there that are like that, like Psycho is another great one. Well, even the tier 2 ones, a lot of them, you don't necessarily see the monster or, the villain very often. That's what makes it so suspenseful. The less you see, the more your brain interprets what you're supposed to see. And that's the great thing about suspense.
Yes, but it wasn't really doing anything besides just showing things that you see every day. It was just showing those.
You see clowns looking at you every day while you're sleeping?
A doll and a tree. You would see those pretty much every day walking around. Those aren't scary.
That's a pretty scary tree. We have a tree similar to it way down in the front of the yard down there, which every day, every time I walk by that tree, like even tonight when I took the trash down, every time I walk by that tree, I think Poltergeist. The knots in it, I'm like, oh, there's that knot, just like in Poltergeist. That's what those kind of movies do for us.
But yeah, it's not till about an hour into the movie when the tree finally does something. And then when the tree does something, the doll doesn't. And it's not till the very end of the movie that the doll finally does something. And not only that, but the closet, which was completely avoided the whole time, does something before the doll does.
And after, and after, and after. It's all about that closet. It's all about the dead people. All the dead people buried below. I see dead people.
But yeah, it wasn't until towards the end of the movie when they actually started doing stuff. Earlier on in the movie, it's just, hey, your house is acting a little weird. Hey, there's chairs moving.
So now...
Hey, there's this tree that for some reason is spooky when it's not. Hey,
So-
there's this doll sitting at the end of my bed that I put there myself and will not move.
I know, that's so funny. I'm gonna put a jacket over top of it instead of just move it into the closet. Speaking of, why don't you just put it in the closet? That drove me crazy the first time. I'm like, just put it away.
Instead of actually dealing with these that are simple and easy to deal with, such as the doll, or closing the curtains so you don't have to look at the tree.
Well, if you remember a couple of years ago when we first moved into this house, you used to be scared of walking down the hallway because it was so dark all the time, which is why you have that light on all the time right outside of your room.
At the same time, I was paying attention to lots of Five Nights at Freddy's things that, and I'm not talking about just the games. I was watching like the VHS tape stuff on YouTube, which you haven't even heard of, have you?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Exactly. All right, so that's all we actually have gotten through in the horror movie so far. So tune in next time when we get deeper into these, and we'll see. Maybe we'll even get to Poltergeist 2. Who knows?
And maybe he'll finally watch Five Nights at Freddy's, which is on Peacock.
I was planning to. No, I just found that just happened this week. I haven't got to it yet. All right, so then in the comedy section, there's a fair list now that I look at it because I changed some things, but there is Happy Gilmore, Coneheads, National Lampoon's Vacation, European Vacation, Vegas Vacation, Christmas Vacation, and then Black Sheep, Tommy Boy, Dude, Where's My Car, Napoleon Dynamite, Wayne's World, and I can't believe that your mom added Weekend at Bernie's. That one's not one of my favorites, but it is funny. Stupid fun. They're all stupid funny. Every single one of those on there are extremely stupid funny.
And the other night, I tried to get to watch a movie, and every single one of those they said no to.
I didn't. She did. Because I knew she wouldn't watch them with us. And
You were saying no to them because Mom was in the room.
Correct. That's my point. I would have said yes to every single one of those.
But
I could watch those every single day. They're so hilarious. Every one of those I've watched so many times you have no idea. Now, you did get to watch Dude, Where's My Car?
Yeah, and before watching that, you guys are like, hey, there's lots of drugs and such.
There is. The dog smokes pot and gets extremely high.
Other than that, is there any sign of drugs besides they were wasted last night?
Yes, because they get wasted again to try to remember what it was like last night. That was the whole point. I think he needs to watch it again or never watch it again. One of the two. All right.
The only thing I can think of that would make that true is they went to the club, the strip club.
Yeah, I don't remember this.
It was
Sure.
It's where they met that person that was pretending to be a girl but had a penis.
You have to go into that much detail, huh? 14-year-olds, I tell you. So,
I'm just trying to get you to remember the movie.
I'm trying to remember, but that part I forgot about. But we haven't got to the National Lampoons yet. I got to get you on those. Those are.
It was a person that happened to have given them the briefcase full of money.
Oh yeah, okay. I know
That
what you're
person.
talking about. Yeah,
That's the only thing I can think of them getting wasted again.
sure. So into the classic movies, where it gets a little bit more interesting for me, we have Interview with a Vampire, Queen of the Damned, Moulin Rouge, The Big Lebowski, Dazed and Confused, Lucas, which is one of my favorite old school ones. You won't care about it at all. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill Volume 1, 2, and I think there's a 3. Can't remember if there's 3 or not, but Kill Bill. And then Fight Club, which is one of Mom's and my favorite movies of all time.
So yeah, instead of any of the comedy movies, we wound up watching Fight Club that night.
Yes. And your thoughts on that are?
Amazing movie. It kind of led you one way and then told you, hey, you're completely wrong.
That's a good way to say it.
Hey, here's this path. I'm going to take you down this path and then tell you you're on the wrong path.
Well, and going back to the thoughts of like what you were saying about Poltergeist being very slow, Fight Club is not a slow movie, is it?
Nope. It goes from a guy that was having the best life, or really not the best life, but he had a great condo. He had a decent job. His only issue was he couldn't sleep, so he would go to these group therapy sessions.
Yes.
For people who had certain diseases like cancer and such, and had their dick removed and such.
Dude,
I'm sorry, I'm just explaining the movie.
you don't need to go into that much detail. I don't even know if YouTube will flag that word.
We already talked about suicide.
That's not going to get flagged. Offensive words are. Be careful. Anyway. So,
But anyways, from there, then it's this guy
and by the way,
shows up on a
wasn't-
plane.
It wasn't that removed. Their balls were removed because they had cancer.
Testicles.
Testicular cancer. They didn't lose the other thing. But what caused that, like, without those, your body doesn't produce testosterone. So that's what made them so emotional, because they didn't have the manly testosterone going through their body all the time anymore. They had to supplement, and it doesn't work as well. For the record. Not that I want to get into that much detail, but, you know, we are two guys chatting about our private parts all of a sudden.
But anyways, it goes from him doing that and then finally being able to sleep to him meeting this person on a plane that he winds up becoming friends with. And then his condo goes on fire, so he winds up calling this friend.
It didn't go on fire. It blew up. Kaboom!
And then he winds up calling this friend, and he moves in with the friend for a bit, or what they think is a bit, and the friend starts getting him to man up a bit more. He stops going to these group therapy sessions, and he starts... the two of them start a fight club, sort of. It starts with them just fighting outside of a bar, and then eventually some other guys show up and are confused and join in.
Now, in case anybody listening has never seen this movie, we can't give away the change at the end. Okay, so we have to remember.
Why don't you just add a skip to this time if you don't want spoiler?
No, I'm saying you're fine with what I like how you're saying it. You're telling the story properly. Keep it with the two of them, if that makes sense.
And then this eventually becomes a fight club that happens in the basement of that bar, I think.
Of Lou's Tavern, yeah.
Yeah, and it starts to grow a bit, and then they decide to make some rules. Rule number 1: don't talk about Fight Club.
Which we're doing.
Rule number 2: don't talk about Fight Club. And then the rest are pretty much 2 people at a time, 1 fight at a time.
No ties, no shoes, basics.
No shirts, just kind of basics to fighting. And when someone goes limp, taps out, or says stop, you stop.
Yep.
And from there, you don't realize it, but all of a sudden there starts to be a sign-up thing, and it becomes obvious that the guy's doing something, the friend that he's living at the house of.
Well, it's more than that. It's not just a sign-up. It becomes a following. It becomes almost...
Like a cult?
Yeah. That's the best way to say it is the Fight Club. It becomes a club. It becomes a personal...
It becomes a cult. And
yes.
People start moving into the house after standing outside.
And it switches from Fight Club to Project Mayhem.
Yeah, but people stand outside, not moving, not eating, not drinking, not sleeping for 3 days straight.
Yeah, which is no one would do.
And they get into the club or cult, and it turns into a terrorist group, just like...
Pretty much.
It goes from 2 people who wanted to have a fight club together to 1 guy taking over that and becoming a terrorist organization with it.
Yes.
With the snap of a finger.
It does. It very quickly does become a terrorist organization. It's pretty funny how they do that. One of my favorite parts of it is when they have the mayor, I think it's the mayor in the bathroom, and they're like, don't forget that we are your servers, your bus drivers, mailmen. We are the people that run your country, that run everything around you. Don't fuck with us, as I swear on the... I couldn't resist. It's one of my favorite moments where he's just like, leave us alone and we will not hurt you because you can't stop us, because you don't realize we are everybody around you. And it was even one of his guards who set that up, if I'm not mistaken, the way that they said it. I think it's one of his guards, personal guards, that was part of the club, and that's why they made that opportunity happen. I mean, they were connected to everything. Everywhere the guy went for lunch and got onto a bus, everywhere he went, everybody that took care of him was part of the cult. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and then...
It's kind of like me everywhere I go, too.
No, it is not.
How do you know? You don't see everything. Well, maybe.
I mean, you show me photos and videos and such when you get back from Vegas.
I mean, in Nashville.
And tell me about Vegas.
But yes, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And
well, clearly you break that rule.
And I've promised both of my kids, as soon as they turn 21, I'm taking them to Vegas. But I'm not taking them beforehand. It defeats the purpose. And I will show you one heck of a time. The other ones that we watched were Pulp Fiction. That was pretty amazing.
We're not done with Fight Club.
We're not done with Fight Club? We don't have to play the play-by-play of it.
Yeah, but eventually the friend winds up disappearing. The guy goes and looks for this and searches through the friend's stuff, finds a stack of passports or whatever, like airplane tickets, and starts going from city to city and starts getting recognized by tons of people everywhere he goes.
Right, because Project Mayhem has now corporate sponsors and has started to open up locations all over the country. Yes, to the point that they decide to blow up, and I still don't think this would have worked.
Blow up a bunch of credit card companies to set the debt and such to zero and cause chaos.
Which I don't think it would have cut to zero. I'm sure it was recorded somewhere else too, but I don't know.
Yeah, if you were to do that nowadays, everything's digital.
In the cloud, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
You would have to take out every single computer in existence if you wanted to do that.
Well, you'd have to take out the servers wherever they were at, and
and
those strongholds would be impossible to do that too. Maybe not, because if all the members that work, if people that work at that,
can we stop helping people? Can we stop helping terrorists plan how to take down the internet?
Well, all you got to do is watch this movie. Well, I mean, it happened. We had that guy do that on Christmas Day here in Nashville that tried to blow up the side of the AT&T building because he was determined to show that 5G was bad for us, and he wanted to prove that there was conspiracy theory happening in the AT&T building with 5G. That was the reason why he tried to blow up that building. Said he blew up an entire block around it, ruined the heart of downtown Nashville that still to this day has not been rebuilt yet, which is starting to happen finally soon. You know, it's not that much different. It does happen all over the world.
Yeah, but that was an idiot thinking he was right when he wasn't.
That's true.
But yet again, there's lots of idiots.
You could say Tyler Durden wasn't the smartest person either. I mean, he thought he understood everything, but maybe he doesn't. He definitely knows how to make good soap, though.
You mean as I almost fall on my chair, you mean the bombs that he disguised as soap?
No, I'm talking about the soap made from...
I actually forget what that is.
Human fat.
I thought you were talking about the other part.
No, human fat.
Yeah, and then
I think that is genius that he was using human fat, turning it into soap, and then selling it back to all these privileged people with all this money that had the money to spend on getting liposuction.
And not telling them.
And they're all like, this is the best soap ever. Just giving it right back to you. That is genius. I think we need to start a soap company.
The one thing is, where would you get all that fat? Because in the movie, it's just a toxic waste bin sitting out in front of a hospital or whatever.
I don't know.
What are the chances that you find a toxic waste bin full of human fat sitting out in front of a hospital?
Here's what's really almost awkward and kind of terrifying to know. Your mom could find it.
I mean, she's found real human brains.
She has access to a lot of weird things working at Vanderbilt University. You never know. Oh, wait. Maybe I should have said that's where she works. All right. We got to move on. We're going to go too long if we don't start moving forward.
I told you, 30 minutes of just talking about movies.
Well, we haven't even got that far yet. All right. So you saw Pulp Fiction. What'd you think of that one?
It's essentially just a movie that plays different parts at different times. It's just scrambling it up, really, because it shows different perspectives, but it plays them in out of order. Pretty much, you watch something that happens in the middle, then you watch some stuff that happens at towards the end, then you watch the beginning, then you watch the end, and then it goes back to the middle.
When it all finishes up, yes.
No, it starts at beginning, then middle, then towards the end, then back to the beginning, back to the end, back to the middle.
Something along those lines.
Something like that.
A little bit of a puzzle.
But yeah.
Did you like that movie?
It seemed pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm scared to ask what your favorite part of the movie was. Anybody that knows me knows my favorite part of the movie.
I thought it was a bit cool how he did the I am the righteous hand of God or something like that at the beginning. Or no, at the...
Where he goes into the apartment.
Yeah, and says...
And eats his hamburger, his Big Kahuna burger, and drinks his Big Kahuna drink.
And then says, like, I'm the righteous hand of God.
Yeah,
and
repeats something from the Bible.
I will smite down upon thee, and then shoots him.
Yes, blows everybody up, kills them all, except for the one guy that helped them. Yeah, that was a pretty amazing movie. My favorite, and I'm sure anybody that knows me can assume this one, is the dance part. Where they do the dancing, they do the twists. They have the twist competition that they win. When they're at the restaurant, the Jackrabbit Slim restaurant. Where they sit inside
I forgot about that part.
And then they get up there and they do the twist. Yes, that's the best part.
I forgot about that part.
And of course, he doesn't know who John Travolta is, so he has no idea that there's this big background in dancing because in what's the movie? Saturday Night Fever is not on the list, even though it should be. Because again, that's not what I meant by classic movies. Because yes, that is an extremely classic movie. We'll get there, one step at a time. I don't want to terrify him ahead of time or bore him out to death. So the next one I want to
Big Lebowski
is the Big Lebowski,
and I described it perfectly.
Go ahead.
It's essentially about a movie about this guy who gets dropped into 5 soap operas at the same time.
Yet he doesn't want to be a part of any of it.
Yeah.
He just wants his rug back.
He just wants to bowl, and he wants people to not pee on his rug. That's how it starts with the movie. This guy talking about the dude, and then he gets home after buying like milk or something, and heads straight into the toilet by someone, and someone else is peeing on his rug because supposedly his wife, which he doesn't have, because they have him confused
Bunny.
with they have him confused with someone else.
With another Lebowski.
Yeah.
With the same exact name.
Owes a lot of guys money all over town, because
He's broke.
yeah.
And Bunny keeps stealing money. Yes. So the interesting thing about the three of those, though, that we've been talking about is the different ways that each one of them were directed. The cinematography, the writing, the directing, the creation of these movies, and how different all three of those were. And all three of them have some of the best directors of all time. So
I mean, Fight Club had quite an opening with a gun in the mouth, but The Big Lebowski, it's head into the toilet.
Yeah, and a guy peeing on his rug. In Pulp Fiction, there's a couple that's, starts taking everybody's money and creating a robbery while they're eating breakfast.
Yeah, but it's nothing compared to head into toilet after talking about a guy. Could you imagine getting home after talking about this person and then having your head shoved straight into the toilet and someone peeing on your rug in front of you?
Well, the funny thing too isn't it? I'm pretty sure he's sitting there and they're yelling at him, "Where's the money, Lebowski?" And he reaches back into the toilet to get his sunglasses out so he can put his sunglasses back on. And he's like, "I'm not Lebowski. I'm the dude." So funny. So you enjoyed all three of those. Which one was your favorite?
Isn't there one more?
I know. We'll get to that.
Oh.
That one has nothing to do with the conversation about directing and all that stuff.
I would say my favorite's either Fight Club because it goes into terrorist organizations, or The Big Lebowski because the guys dropped into 5 soap operas at once, and it opens with head in the toilet. It's like calm, chill, talking, and then head straight into the toilet.
So your favorite movie is because there's a head in a toilet instantaneously.
No, I said it's either Fight Club because it's a gun in the mouth, and it's talking about car companies. It's like one moment I'm working for a car company, next I'm partnered with this guy and a terrorist organization. That's how it opens up saying, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then it winds back to the beginning of what happened, and then goes back to that to end the movie. Kind of like Pulp Fiction. Starts and ends with the same part.
Yes, that's a good point. Very similar directing or plan.
And then The Big Lebowski, on the other hand, it's calm, quiet, collective, head in the toilet. That's why it's one of the two favorites. It's either Big Lebowski or Fight Club.
Because the last time we talked about this, you were like, well, Pulp Fiction was probably still my favorite, but now you're saying those two.
Yeah, it's because it's quite an opening.
Okay, that's awesome. And then the last one you've watched so far is Queen of the Damned, which was the first one you started with on this entire list, just to get you rolling on something. Now that one you weren't as big of a fan of. A little too slow, a little too boring for you.
Slow, boring, not really much action. When things finally picked up was when he's having to deal with the first vampire, and all of a sudden things are starting to actually start to go. And that's towards the end of the movie. So just like Poltergeist,
I knew you were going to say this. Go ahead.
it's very slow. You have to wait like 2 hours before anything starts. But at least there is things going on besides, hey, this chair just moved. Hey, there's a creepy doll at the end of my bed. Hey, this tree's scary.
Yeah. No, instead they're all sucking blood and
Instead, there's actual things going on.
Yeah. So you need to see Interview with a Vampire and it's not much more faster pace. It's pretty close to the same. but it might make more sense as to why Queen of the Damned is so important. I should have started you off with Interview with a Vampire, but I didn't have that at that moment, and I was trying to get you to watch something. The two are the same people, Lestat, and then there's another guy, Louis, that's in Interview with a Vampire, but Lestat's in both of them. Queen of the Damned is earlier in his life, way earlier in his life, and Interview with the Vampire is more up to date. But they're the same vampire story, and they're amazing the way that they put them together. Now, those are books made by Anne Rice, and her books are 10 times better than the movies, for sure. But I definitely recommend both of them. Queen of the Damned is one of my favorite movies, even though it's slow, but so is Poltergeist. I also love the soundtrack. I thought the music was amazing. I thought it was so cool that Lestat had a band, a heavy rock band. And
pretty much it's a guy who wakes up from sleeping for a bunch of time, and he's a vampire, and immediately tries sucking someone's blood, and then joins a band, becomes famous.
And actually, now that I think about it, I don't think Queen of the Damned is before Interview as a Vampire. I think it's before and after. I think Interview was between those two moments. I'll have to go back and think about that. It's been a while for me.
But
I have to go back and watch Interview with the Vampire for that same reason. But
anyways, so it's pretty much he wakes up after a long sleep, then he
that's why I'm saying that I think his
blood.
sleep is between those two moments. Interview with a Vampire is why he went to sleep for so long after that.
But anyways, yeah, he then joins a band, gets famous. It goes into his past, which was a bit of something. And then it starts showing this girl that's in a group who wants to talk with this guy and winds up wanting to join. Things start to finally pick up when the first vampire finally wakes up. That girl becomes a vampire because Lestat allowed her, and she wanted to. Things start to heat up as didn't she become a vampire later on? Yeah,
she doesn't come one till close to the end.
Yeah, but anyways, things start to pick up. The Queen's starting to kill vampires, and it's just picking up. It's going. They kill the Queen. They then make the one girl that wanted to be a vampire all along a vampire. And that's where things start to pick up because it's more fighting. Things are actually happening. And it's when the concert happens that things finally happen.
Such an awesome concert.
I mean, if you're in the audience, all you see is people just fly up and then all of a sudden they start bursting into flames as another person walks in.
Because she's killing them all, yes. It was pretty amazing. And to the same point, I started him with that movie coincidentally the same day that I went back and listened to the soundtrack again. So I was playing it while we were driving, and I was like, we got to watch this movie.
No, it wasn't the same day. It was when I was going to homecoming.
I know, but I listened to it the 2 days in a row. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I started it the day before, and that what made me think about, we've got to get you to watch this. And then I was listening to it again that day, too. So that's why it was fresh in my head and why I was like, let's get on with this and let's get started. So now we got to figure out what's next. You're going to go back to horror? You're going to start on the comedies? You're going to keep with the classics?
Let's talk about Saw. The reason why I think it's not really that scary is because nothing's really happening besides some guys locked in a room and it goes over their past. It's pretty much more that it's messed up because they're locked in the room and how they're locked in the room and what's really going on in that room.
Well, to the same point, Mom wants to go do those escape rooms. It's basically what it is.
Not to the brutal extent.
But it's a precursor to creating an escape room because that's basically what it is, an escape room. You have to find a clever way to get out of there. You have to decide how you're going to get out of there, and it is do or die.
Yes, but it's different doing these escape rooms because IRL, they're not legally allowed to kill people.
Well, of course not. Hypothetical, but it's still the same logic.
You have to go through these small puzzles, get keys and such, and eventually wind up opening the door and escaping. These ones, on the other hand, in Saw 1, it's literally kill your partner or die.
Well, no, it was cut my leg off so I can live.
Cut my leg off, kill my partner, or die.
Yeah.
And cutting your leg off can lead to death because it's a moldy old room.
But he was a doctor.
I know, but still, there was literally a pool of blood that had poison in it.
Oh, I forgot about that part.
Yeah, and he was supposed to put a cigarette in the poison and give it to the other guy. They tried to fake do that because there were 2 cigarettes. Failed because the dude had power to electricity. It leads you to believe this one guy is the guy. And then it spins it around and says, hey, this dead body that the pool of blood is around was actually the guy the whole time.
The whole time. Genius.
And it had even said earlier in the movie how the guy likes having front row seats.
Yeah, could you imagine could you imagine how patient that guy has to be to sit there and listen through all of that, all the drama, all the play-by-play, all the
And not flinch.
and not flinch. I mean, how amazing of an idea that is, and sadistic that someone can do that and sit and lay there for so long and just
Saw
listen
isn't
to the turmoil.
scary, it's just messed up.
It
The
is
dude
messed
has
up.
front row seats to every single one, and this isn't looking at a monitor like it made you think it was. He's there.
You just wait and see what happens next on the next ones.
And not only that, but the things he makes people do are just straight up. I can't say that word.
Right. Well,
It's messed up.
to the same point, if you think you're ready for more, it might be time to watch 7 next. Because that is another twisted, effed up, unbelievable. You can't believe that someone thinks this way.
He's
Kind of thing.
when it
Playing
was
games.
playing like the past in the movie, it was the doctor's past and how the police officers were interviewing him about how they think he's Jigsaw. And it shows this girl that comes in, and she had a run-in with Jigsaw where she had this thing attached to her mouth and would rip her jaw off if she didn't get it off in time. And to
Again,
get it,
escape room.
to get it off, she had to open up this person's stomach because it's in the stomach, and she's told that he is dead. He is unconscious. He's not able to hear, not able to feel. He's dead, and this is actually a lie because he has some sort of he's drugged in a way where he can't feel a thing. But you see him wake up when she's about to stab him, and she winds up getting the key and taking it off just in time. But she almost loses her jaw, and yeah, she has to stab someone just to take it off.
It's an amazing movie.
It's messed up where it's essentially you either let this guy that you don't know is alive live, or you let your jaw get ripped off and die.
And the interesting thing is, I think they've made 10 of those now. I think we own 6 or 7 of them.
I don't think it was that many.
Yeah,
thought,
there is.
I saw there was like 3 or 4.
No.
That we owned.
No. You didn't see all of them. I got a lot of them on my computer. But I believe
You have
we
a lot of movies on your computer.
I believe we have around the first 6 or something crazy. So they are, and they're all pretty awesome. Surprisingly, it's a franchise that kept making really good versions for a while, where you kept thinking, "Oh, come on, the next one can't be that good," and they weren't too bad. So we'll have to move on with those soon too.
Normally, franchises start out good, get better, and then start declining.
All right, well, I think that is enough for today. We had a great conversation about all these movies. I think that we do need to set up a few more movies and then do this again.
We talked about games in the first 3 minutes.
Oh, jeez, don't start. Don't go there.
We talked about cubes and how Rose hates them, even though they're good.
Yeah, they are good. Those are awesome.
We talked about movies and what an intro to Fight Club and The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about the intros to these movies and go, okay, he'll like this one because of the intro. I don't know.
It's
That's a
I
tough
like
one.
Fight Club more than just the intro, and I like The Big Lebowski for more than just the intro. It's just that intro gets you hooked.
Hooked. That's a very good point. I completely agree with you.
I mean, are you more likely to watch The Big Lebowski if you hadn't seen it before because of that intro, or are you more likely to watch
Fight Club.
Pulp Fiction
Or
with that intro? Like two people walk into a bar that are not bar, Waffle House pretty much, or IHOP, and are just talking about how they love each other, and then wind up robbing the place.
well, and I think that that's also why we need to move on to Kill Bill because I think the opening is just as amazing once you realize what's going on and everything like that. So I think you will be impressed by Kill Bill also. Well, in fact, anything by that director because Quentin Tarantino is by far one of the greatest directors of all time. All three of those directors are. And there's a lot of movies connected to them that I think you would appreciate for sure. All right, well, thank you for putting up with our movie critic night. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And we will see you again soon. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye.